We all watched the State of Azeroth event, and I already talked about it a lot. Completely underwhelming for the most part. But I do feel like there were some really important things that Blizzard did announce that they just didn't emphasize enough. I don't know what it is. They just kind of skimmed over it. Didn't think of, like, Labyrinth, I thought was like a game-changing feature that they just kind of said, oh yeah, there's these really big delves. You guys should check them out when those go live. So there were things that were announced that I thought were really big deals. And they just seemed to kind of blaze through it, talking about, you know, family and housing the entire time. That's what it felt like it was mainly about. So Blizzard buried Midnight's best news. No wonder people are pissed. Let's check this one out here from Bellular.
We've now seen the State of Azeroth, and as it turns out, it's a little complicated. Now, there's good stuff. There's more raids than ever, a massive evolution to delves, confirmed housing features that everyone's been asking for. So in a way, within 30 minutes, Blizzard made some of us very happy about Midnight's future. But why then are other people in full doomer mode? Well, I'll start with the most important part, the news that matters to you. Probably, if you're watching this channel. But first I have to give a Shadowlands shout out to my country's panopticon-loving Home Secretary. Privacy stuff's getting worrying. I mean, right now the UK government is in court trying to force Apple to weaken encryption. You've got the Online Safety Act just expanding, and over in the US, there's still no federal big privacy law. It's a patchwork of state rules. Breaches keep piling up, and privacy everywhere is kind of eroding. That's exactly why I use today's sponsor, NordVPN. With Nord, I can browse from anywhere.
Nice.
Usually I just VPN over to Ireland, though. And I do that when I want to, you know, skip the surveillance. Get the same internet, but not get all of the annoying hassle. And at nordvpn.com/Bellular Warcraft, you'll get yourself 4 months
I can't
for free
skip
on a
the
2-year
man's
plan
ad. I'm watching
backed
his
by the
video.
30-day money-back guarantee.
I gotta help him out.
But it ain't just privacy.
Use
Nord can
Bellular
actually
Warcraft.
pay
That's your
for
code.
Itself by allowing you to exploit dynamic pricing. Airlines, software, car rentals, they all often charge differently based on location. So you can browse from another country and quite literally see prices drop. And that means that over a few smartly done bookings, you'll have already covered the subscription cost in your savings.
Wow.
All you have to do is clear your browser cookies and then browse from other countries and watch the prices drop.
Amazing.
One smart booking can basically cover the subscription's cost. And while you're out there outsmarting regional pricing, Threat Protection Pro
Contractually
handles
obligated
actual
to play
threats.
them, yeah.
Things like malware, phishing, trackers, and it's dead simple with their mobile and desktop apps. There's no technical knowledge needed, even though a VPN sounds like a very
I hope Bellular gets paid well for these. They're kind of long.
4 months for free on a 2-year plan at nordvpn.com/Bellular Warcraft.
There it is. Okay, the Midnight
Here's the
train's
big
going
thing,
everywhere.
The 2026 roadmap for Midnight. Now, when we look at it, we see that the launch content isn't new. It's what we expected, but that's okay. And everything after it is new. Patch 1205 will be a fairly small patch like usual, but unusually, it's actually going to bring some new content. There'll be Void Assaults, which are a new world event across the Midnight zones, and
Really, as I said before, the pre-patch event launching in the beginning of the expansion. That's what this is.
that's all we know
That's
about
what the pre-patch should have been.
And more importantly, there's Prop Hunt. Yes, Prop Hunt is coming to the game. They're calling it Decor Duel, and it's a cute 5v5 game of hide and seek. So, they're hopping on a few trends. This one may be a little bit, maybe a decade late, but hey, I'm sure Steal a Brain Rot Warcraft Edition is coming anytime soon. Really though, I think this is a fairly cool idea. It would not have taken that long to make, and I think that having some in-game filler is important for an MMO. Things
we'll
allow you to just hang out, maybe the sort of thing you could even call some friend slop. Yeah, I can imagine groups.
I said this before, that I think this little hide and seek event is actually a testing version of what they're planning on releasing with that new secret game mode. They said they were launching another game mode like Plunderstorm, but not Plunderstorm. So a separate game mode outside of the game that you can play, and everyone thinks it's like an Among Us play. That's what everyone thinks it's going to be. And so what better way to test out some Among Us features than a hide-and-seek style game where, you know, you can click and reveal people and call people out, do that kind of shit. Yeah, that's what I think this whole thing is.
Friends actually having fun with this when they don't have energy to push Mythic Plus or grind Endeavor progress. Pretty good for streamers as well. Anyway, then 1207, that's when we get the biggest news of all, and that is that Blizzard are finally tackling the downtime between seasons. They're adding mid-season raids into World of Warcraft, and this will start with Sporefall, which will be a one-boss raid right in the middle of Season 1.
This will be fun.
Now, we weren't told what impact it would have on gearing, but honestly, I don't think that's really the most important issue. At the end of the day, we do get our gear so we can do the raids. They are the thing that actually matters. But there's one raid thing Ian said that maybe went a bit under the radar that I think is important, and that is that they're just trying to tell more stories and make more raids. I really like that, and you'll see how it develops through the roadmap. I've got a feeling this will be fairly big, though, and, well, let me tell you why.
I mean, let's be honest, in the history of WoW, some of the biggest story moments in WoW have come from raids, right? I mean, the fall of Arthas, you know, the Wrath of the Lich King ending, where he falls and dies, and you get that cutscene cinematic, huge moment in gaming history, for sure. Not just in WoW, but all around. And all the bosses we've killed, all the storylines we've gotten out of raids. No doubt, raiding is the best version of storytelling in WoW. I've always felt that way. And that's why I've always felt like if you're going to play this game and learn the story and everything, the good thing is now you have those, follower raids. They're not follower, they're story mode raids, where you could just go in the raid and see the story. That was a great ad by Blizzard for people who don't raid, because the truth is you don't know the full story unless you're completing raids. So telling more stories through raids, I think, is a great feature. Great idea.
And stop me if this sounds familiar, but you play like crazy for a few weeks to gear up and blast through some patch content. Then you start raid logging once your gearing slows down and you're near the end. And then once you've finished your goals, you still want to play, but logging into the same old raid just feels hollow.
Yeah.
So you log in, run around, play an alt for an hour or two, and just kind of give up. You log out basically until the next patch. I may not have described you, but I think there's a fairly good chance I just did. I know for sure.
We have a realm.
Nico, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to our Scourge.
I'm talking about most of my guild. Basically, the day we get ahead of the curve is usually the last day that we see some people for 6 months. And it's not for any bad reason, it's just they've finished the bit of the game they enjoy most.
You finished it. It does feel really repetitive to go back and do it over and over again when there's no more really goals behind it. Yet Yevnil in chat says it best. How many times are you going to clear Narubar Palace just to see Xal'atath's feet? And the truth is, you screenshotted it the first time, so you don't need to go back in there to see it again. That's really what we all did.
With this, there'll be something real to come back for, and more often. And my guess is that Ian's data wizards will have shown him that a whole lot of people play just like that. And what I like here is they're going to solve this by making new bosses instead of trying to make some infinite system or stretching the same content out and out and out. Moving ahead then, we have patch 12.1. So Ian showed some restraint here. He said nothing about where we're going or what we're doing. All he shared was...
I think it's all but guaranteed that 12.1 is going to be your Amani Troll pre-patch. I think we're going to get that new... There's that like clouded serpent inspired zone right off the coast of the Amani Troll area. I think that's going to be the new zone. We're going to get into Amani Troll raids, some more Amani Troll dungeons stuff going on, Amani Troll delves. I mean, you're just going to be Amani Trolled out. New world bosses on the new isle that we're getting, and then housing social updates UI does. Sure. But I think that's what we're getting here. We're really getting the expansion of Amani Troll lore throughout 12.1.
What we're doing. All he shared was the kind of thing that was coming. And it's all the usual season stuff. There's new everything, so really no surprises. Except for one thing. They are finally tackling World of Warcraft's extremely outdated friend system. We don't have details on what this will look like, but I think that's rather telling. WoW's social features really have needed work for a long time, so it's good to see them do that. And if you combine that with Prop Hunt and Neighborhoods, I think a pattern emerges here. It's Blizzard trying to make WoW an MMO again, instead of just a seasonal content treadmill. That's really good. Okay, 12.1.5 brings us something properly new. Big Delves, or more properly called
Big
Labyrinths. So these are inspired by mega dungeons.
I think these are the coolest thing that Blizzard introduced. I do. I think these are a game-changing feature. Somebody said, no, they're not. I do think they are. Libor said, yeah, these will not be a game-changing feature. I think they are, especially the progression-based path they have them on. By the way, this is like an artistic rendition, but look at, these are, I believe, our player characters. Look at the sheer size of this thing. This thing looks grandiose as shit. But the cool thing about it is the way you can progress through different wings throughout the week, right? So like this can be a solo player piece of content that you progress through every day throughout the week until you've eventually finished it out. They said it's on the level of a size and scale like a mega dungeon. So this is really cool solo content. Now you can do it with other people as well, but to me, this is something neat that you can progress on the side outside of the Mythic Plus grind and the raid grind. and potentially get some really good gear. I'm assuming these will contribute to your weekly vault as well. So that'll be another nice thing about it. Rejoice, single players out there, your Gregs of accounting and shit, who don't know when you're going to log on. You don't know when you're going to finally be able to hide away from your abusive wife and do something just for you for the day. But when you do get away, you may be able to do your Labyrinth. And that'll be a really cool thing. Also, just sheer fantasy-wise, like going into a giant cavern, to me, is always like peak fantasy, right? It's just a cool thought.
And they're aiming to get the same feeling as a delve, but bigger. So you'll go in with Valera, maybe some friends, and you'll fight and explore your way through.
Look at this thing. How many chambers does this thing have? What do we got here? We got one. This is the entrance. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wings to this thing. Damn. It's huge.
The difference isn't just that it's a delve, but bigger. Ian says they won't have the same reward structure, and they'll also save your progress. So it basically seems you can tackle them bit by bit if you want. Cool. And really, Mega Dungeon Delves is just a great pitch. I think sometimes And
I'm sure just like raids, if you don't complete it in a week and you want to continue to progress on it, you'll probably be able to save your lockout on that thing, so it doesn't reset, and then you can continue forward in it. It seems like a really cool piece of content.
Bite-sized, sort of in-and-out nature of delves can feel a bit basic and a bit repetitious, so I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do here when they have more room, when it seems like you'll actually have different choices and how you path your way through it. Yeah. That seems really neat. And speaking of more, well, the last few WoW expansions have gotten more and more formulaic. We finish a raid, get a cutscene, and it'll leave us a few little breadcrumbs that'll lead us to the next boss.
Right.
Then we have middle patches that are some sort of detour or distraction, and the game just feels a bit all over the place. This time, they're using the middle patch to continue the story more directly, and instead of just quests, there is another one-boss
mini raid, yeah.
And it's one that is, and I quote, a direct continuation of Midnight's narrative. So I think it's fairly clear then that they heard all the feedback about the Arathi campaign. Good shit then. Now, that all does sound good, but you may also be wondering, when's the next remix or plunder storm? And you may have remembered that last year we were teased a screenshot of something in Duskwood. We were promised spooky...
Yeah, everyone thinks it's going to be like some kind of spooky... Among Us flavor of game. I think this would be really cool if it launches like around Halloween time for sure. Just doing this over and over looks like it would be a really fun game mode to play through, but we'll see what it actually ends up being. Nobody knows yet.
But it never materialized. That is perhaps until now, because on the roadmap we can see it scheduled for autumn, and we've got this concept art, which is Stormsong Valley, but being broken apart by what looks like Drust magic. So it's basically...
Which is also cool. I love the aesthetic of Drust magic, so I'm all about this.
Sort of classic old god vibes, meeting the Druids of Death. Looks pretty cool, sounds kind of spooky to me. I have no idea what it is, but I'd put my money on it being a little bit out there and a bit interesting. And
if you remember, not too long ago, there was something data mined that was titled Vampire, what is it called? The vampire style game mode, where you just continually, mobs are just always coming at you. Vampire Hunter. That's what it was in the data mining. People saw that language and were like, what is that? We don't got anything in the game like that. Well, maybe that's what this is. Some kind of vampire hunter style game where you just get these crazy abilities and it's just an infinite amount of mobs coming. You're just blasting them down. Could also be a really fun thing to play in WoW.
Assuming it's the same spooky vibes thing that they
Vampire
teased last
Survivor,
year,
sorry.
then
that's what
this would have been in the works for quite a long time, at least by the time we actually get it. Now, on housing, lots was talked about. Ian promised tons of new updates. He had a few, though, that he could finally announce, and that is mounts and pets in your houses and outside of your houses, mass item selection and moving, copy and pasting, plus the import and export codes for full house designs, as well as budget increases. Gonna be real with you, these are absolutely fantastic. You can make absolutely incredible things. The example they use is grand pianos, but moving them and tweaking them was an utter pain. That is now going to be a solved problem. That's it for major Midnight updates, but Ian ends by saying that this BlizzCon will be, quote, one for the ages, and that they're going to be talking about the next 20 years of Warcraft.
Yeah, I think they're going to give us maybe some Last Titan stuff, and I think Classic Plus is going to be like the big blockbuster announcement for sure.
That's a long time. I thought we'd be hearing about The Last Titan, and I assume we still will, but maybe they'll be teasing a little bit more than that. Pretty damn cool, but unfortunately, it seems that selling BlizzCon that hard may have backfired. and may be part of why some people kind of hated the state of Azeroth.
The Midnight
Right,
Train,
so by now you know what Ian announced, you know about the mid-season raids, the mega dungeons, and a bunch of really great minor updates. That all sounds great to me as someone who's primarily playing retail. I mean, they're all retail now, but you get what I mean, modern WoW. But if you check online, you'll see a lot of people who are not best pleased. So let's talk about them, and let's talk about the rest of the video.
I mean, remember when I watched it, I told you guys, I think this could have been an email. You know, it was one of those things at work where, like, did we really have to have a meeting for this? This could have been an email. And I think had Blizzard just announced this stuff, like in some blue posts or something, that people would have been more excited for. But the fact that they hyped it up as like this separate event and tune in and we're going to see, you know, the next thing for World of Warcraft and State of Azeroth event and all this shit, it got overhyped. We thought we were going to get some crazy announcements, and the truth is we didn't. So it could have been an email.
You see, Ian only came out to talk about Midnight, about a third of the way through the video.
He said a lot of shit we already know.
And then it was another third of the video again until he started talking about the roadmap, which began at minute 21. So in a 29-minute showcase promising news, about 11 minutes of it was news. The other 18 were split between Holly talking about the community, about housing, and about Classic,
family.
and then Ian recapping the expansion features that we all already know. Of course, when I say we all, I don't mean every WoW player, I mean the likes of you and me who make and watch YouTube videos about it. It's one of those things where a big marketing event like this is always going to heavily have some recap in it because they're trying to reach beyond you and me. Right. That being said, if you were a Classic player, well, you wouldn't really have learned anything, except that Mists of Pandaria and the Burning Crusade will continue at their usual pace, which really isn't news. And that meant that for those players, it was barely worth tuning in for. Except for one thing, the fake out.
Yeah.
They did a fake out of Classic Plus. Seriously, just listen to this.
And that's not all we're cooking up. I can say with confidence that all Classic players across the globe have a lot to look forward to. I'm really excited to announce that... I guess we'll save that.
What did that person say? I know that she cut her off from saying Classic Plus, but what the hell did she say? I still can't make it out.
For later.
That's just cruel, and I absolutely love it. But I do get why it wasn't exactly satisfying for a lot of people. Still, I do think personally it was playful and fun. But the point basically is, I would say,
Holly, wait,
that they've got Classic Plus lined up for BlizzCon. And they would obviously want this to be a gigantic moment. But for it to be a gigantic moment, you can't just give it away really early. But of course, they've now made it an open secret. And that means that now the entire community is riling themselves up waiting.
No, it's for sure. If they did that, and they're not intending to announce Classic Plus, but imagine they announced like Season of Discovery 2, you know, I think people would lose their... They would literally... There would have to be security. Security everywhere at that point around Blizzard headquarters because the pitchforks would be coming. So I think they know what the people want. They know they want Classic Plus, and they wouldn't tease it if they weren't going to give it. So I think they're going to give it for sure.
They know Classic Plus is coming, but they've got absolutely no idea what it is or when it's going to be, which maybe does have elements of excitement, but it does appear to have quite a lot of frustration in it as well. And in the absence of information, people start to imagine things. Some of it will be stuff that you, the team, are definitely working on. But I can promise you, Blizz, people are building a fantasy of Classic Plus in their head that is not the one that you're going to release. It's been so long that some have even made a whole website to fantasize about it. So at BlizzCon, whatever they do with Classic Plus, it better be a spectacular showcase and a shockingly close release date. Now, the other complaint that I saw with this was housing. No one has any real complaint.
Can I just say, this cinematic, the start of it was absolutely amazing. Even the art style is kind of cool. I did dig it, but it does seem a bit like not... It felt like Overwatch art style, really. But the whole thing where she was fighting the Void guys in the beginning was actually really badass. And then I realized it was a housing, family thing, and I was like, oh, okay, well, haven't we had enough of this already?
It's about the system itself. It's fantastic. We love it.
I was kind of hoping it was like expansion related, like storyline related or something, but it wasn't.
Maybe you love it. And I think the people who aren't interested don't really see it as some big threat to the version of the game that they play. But there is a difference
it was cool to see
just having a favorite child and then rubbing that in all the other kids' noses. which is what you see, at least be the impression people got when you skim through the comments. And it's just that people seem a little bit sick of housing getting all of the spotlight, even some of the people who love it. So at the end of the day, this video is a classic Blizzard move. It wasn't made for us, the people who regularly play WoW and stay on top of the news. It was mostly something else, a poorly disguised advert for lapsed players and new players. And on that front, it did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Effectively, it's them taking the usual thing they do of releasing a roadmap and doing a big video presentation along with it. For the likes of us, the roadmap is the thing that was important. Their bet, basically, is that for the big, broad audience that they're marketing to, well, the rest of the video is good for them. It's a shame that the way that they did it led to a wave of negativity, though I have a note for Ian, and that is just, be careful when you end on one more thing. Because people are trained to expect a big announcement.
I think Apple has trained society now to think that one more thing means like something massive, like the biggest announcement of all announcements is coming. When he said one more thing, the last time he did it, remember when they finally announced player housing, the guy walked in with the mug and put it down and it said home sweet home or whatever. That was a big one more thing. That was cool. They were announcing player housing, something that a lot of the player base has been waiting for forever. The one more thing was just a cinematic about something we already knew. So yeah, it was a bit, it wasn't one more thing worthy, I would say.
There. Every gaming showcase does that. So they ended on this advert for housing. And I think visually, yeah, sure, it's an incredible ad. Personally, it does
really cool.
represent World of Warcraft no longer looking and feeling like the World of Warcraft or the Warcraft that I knew, because it is just so saccharine. But anyway, did look quite nice. GG to, all the technical artists and all the people doing the rendering. Very nice. But when you end in something like that, people will think it's an announcement or something, not just an ad for a thing that they already are knowing.
Even at this point, I thought it was like some new game mode cinematic or something. You know what I mean? Like when I was watching this and they said the one more thing, I was like, oh shit, we're getting like a new version, a Plunderstorm or something. Like that's what I thought this was announcing, and then it was just more player housing stuff.
And playing. Little bit weird. But anyway, that was Blizzard's big announcement. For Midnight, there's actually a lot of brilliant news. We saw an advert, and we got the promise of more news at BlizzCon. With all that said, here's what I really think about the state of Azeroth 2026. We're actively watching World of Warcraft fall apart right now. The game's absolutely packed full of bugs. Even core parts of the leveling experience, the whole revamped one for new players, are literally broken right now, and at least had been for weeks and weeks and weeks. Their execution of the very important basics of the game, like reward balance, kind of treats us like idiots for playing at launch. Now, at the same time, the upgrades to systems here are great, and in the near future, we are being promised very welcome improvements, and it seems there'll be welcome improvements for the rest of the year. Over in Classic, yeah, people have got plenty to do. They're starving for something new, but they do have plenty to do. But ultimately, I think this. If Midnight releases without literally exploding, and Blizzard's idea of Classic Plus,
or making us explode, if you know what I mean. I think Blizzard, Bellylar's being a bit harsh that the game is dying. I think the game is heading in the right direction. There's just been a lot of trip-ups, along the way. If the content is good, people will continue to play, and the player base will grow. The launches have been so sketchy. Eventually they get it right, but I just see they need to be a little bit less sketchy, and things will be heading in the right direction.
Isn't a massive catastrophe, then I think the state of Azeroth will be
Midnight's
quite
going to be an important
healthy
expansion.
Indeed. And on the topic of those bugs and those problems, I'll have plenty to talk about in tomorrow's video. But for now, that's it for me. And if you want insight into how this game is actually made, well, we went and tracked every single developer across multiple expansions. We learned a lot of things.
That's a great video. We watched that
You
one.
can watch the video here next.
Yeah, overall, like I said, he's been a bit harsh, I think. Have the releases of patches been smooth? No, anything but smooth. But I think the content, for the most part, has been good, and I do have hope that Midnight's going to be even better. I think that's what we're all hoping for, and I'm looking forward to, especially with the Metzen effect coming into effect. Nice video from Bellular.